saying we're going live. I don't trust it for shit. Never trust technology. I'm guessing we're live. You hit me up in chat. Let me know.
I have no idea.
No, you have no fucking clue. Stay ignorant. Ignorance is bliss, man. Stay ignorant. It'll save you so much headache. It'll save you so much heartache too. Chat, let me know if we sound okay. Okay. Like, what's going on, y'all? It's Paul the Barbarian here. We're here for another episode of Across the List, Buhurt Around the World. I'm sitting here with Pawel Kurzak, out of the UK, White Company. Go ahead, Pawel. Let us know what you've done in steel fighting, because it's probably a pretty long list.
Hi, guys. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Paul. What I have done, I started in 2004. Hold on, in 2014.
Get hit in the head a lot, do you?
2014. Yeah, quite a lot. I started in 2014. Initially, fighting within, fighting in UK in Battle Heritage, because it was like a large national organization, kind of both club, not club, and so on. It was countrywide organization. We started going to international tournaments. My first tournament was in France, in Montbazon, in September 2014. I joined them just before the Belmonte Battle of the Nations, but I did not go there because it was like I joined. I think I started training in February, etc. And
Belmonte, Spain, was that Battle of Nations or was that IMCF?
No, that was IMCF. But I didn't go there. You know, like I didn't have armor.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I'm doing, and so on. So my first international tournament was Montbazon in France, and in the final we met with Partisan One. So it's kind of like a rough introduction to the medieval fighting.
Yeah. Let's
then,
here, get your ass kicked for a couple of times. See how it goes.
Oh yeah. We got absolutely slaughtered there. Then it was Poland, Malbork 2015, IMCF, and Battle of the Nations. With the same year, I had a nice road trip, driving from London to like northeast Poland, where my wife lives. I fought in a dual tournament there. From there to Malbork, 4 days of fighting. Got home, drove to Prague, 4 days of fighting, and drove back to London. I was absolutely exhausted. I lost like 6 kilos.
Jesus
really,
Christ.
The border force got me out of the car because they could not believe that it's me on the pictures. That was a really rough 3 weeks.
I tell you what, that trip from Malbork to Prague, because we did the same thing. We just took a train from Malbork to Prague, and it was like that was probably 8 hours of just being in a train. And we wake up and we're like, man, we haven't slept at all. This is like fuck. Like two and a half weeks on campaign in country doing stuff. You did 3 weeks because you went and did a singles tournament before you even went to fucking the IMCF.
Yeah. It was fun.
Definitely.
And that IMCF was fairly successful for me. I mean, I got a gold and 2 silvers there. So kind of like, oh shit! I really did not expect it to win gold in polearms over there. And then we went to Battle of the Nations. I mean, we got absolutely slaughtered. And by the way, that Battle of the Nations, it's probably the only time 2 of us we fought against one another.
I think so. Like, was that 21 on 21s? Yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise, we have not met in Malbork, definitely. And then I don't think he went.
I thought we fought Britain in 5-on-5s in Poland.
No.
Okay.
No. You lost in a semi-final against Poland.
Yeah, we did.
And we went to the final from the other side. So that's why we did not meet. And we had a team of 10s, but we have not met the USA 10s, and we haven't had 16s.
Yeah.
So whilst I was fighting in England, in English in IMCF, we've never had 16s.
Gotcha.
There was just not enough of us. And then the following year, we went to what was first? Battle of the Nations was first. So first we went to Battle of the Nations to Prague again. And this time, okay, we actually fought. We still got absolutely slaughtered there, but we made it to like quarterfinals in 5v5 and actually won some fights in 21s. Actually, we took fifth place in 21, so that was pretty good result.
21s is a wacky thing in Botan. Like 21 on 21s, like was it in the really tiny list?
Yeah.
Like it was in 2015? That was...
Yeah, that was the same. 2015, 2016 was the same list,
Yeah.
you know, that small sandbox.
Yeah, little sandbox.
Cut sandbox. But it was awesome. I loved it. I mean, there was no breeze at all.
No. It was very fun.
Absolutely hot. Oh, yeah, it was. So, you know, that was the next one. And that's where my, next one was the Portugal IMCF 2016. That's where my IMCF career ended. Then 2017, Barcelona, again, 5v5 went pretty well. We lost ultimately to Ainabera after a pretty good fight. I mean, we were quite happy with it. We lost, but it was a good fight. And then fourth place in 21v21. 2016, we also made it first time to Dynamo Cup, which was a big eye opener. We got to the top 8, which was we were the only Western European team, or in general, the only Western team outside of Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine to make it to the top 8. And again, we lost to Partizan 1. Partizan 1 was in our way quite a bit throughout the years. 2017, Barcelona. 2018, Santa Severa, and honestly, I forgot. I went to this tournament in Russia called Times and Epochs. And it was really epic. I mean, it was probably the best 3 days of fighting I've ever had.
Yeah.
Because so basically Moscow had this huge reenactment festival for 12 days. There were lists created on the streets, and we were fighting on Novy Arbat. It's one of the most prominent streets in Moscow. We were fighting there. Then we were fighting about a kilometer from the Red Square, from the Kremlin. And I had a fight of the night against, oh my goodness. Now I'm ashamed. Max, I'm sorry, Max. Max Plaskin.
Oh, okay.
There, 2018, Santa Severa, Italy. Finally, we had a medal. After, it's my personal opinion, but it was an epic comeback for us to lose against France and then to win again. In fives, we again lost. It's like the last 12. So we didn't make top 6. We made the 12. The 12 cut. We didn't make it to the last 6. And then finally, of course, every year we were trying to make a Dynamo Cup and so on. And then finally came Battle of the Nations 2019. So Battle of the Nations X, which was a massive success for Team UK. Bronze in 5v5, silver in 12v12, bronze in 30v30. Individual medals for Łukasz Kowal, Bogusz, in duels and in pro fights. Absolutely epic results.
2 bronzes, a silver, and a bunch of medals at Botan is pretty stinking good compared to the field that you're fighting across over there with all the Eastern European teams bouncing out there. That's actually a pretty good achievement there. I think the best that the Americans have done was 4th place in 21s, and that was in 2015. We lost to Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia. I'm like, I'll take that. That's fine. Like, we fought them. We fought them well. We fought everybody else and did pretty good. I'm like, cool. We'll take it. I kind of want to go back to Baden now that it has more refinement to their schedule. I hear when I was in Baden in Prague, I had a problem with the scheduling and the organization of the tournament itself. As somebody that has run like smaller foam fighting tournaments and rattan fighting tournaments and everything else like that, I'm like, there are better ways that this could be done, and I don't need to be getting in and out of my armor 6 times over a period of 4 hours because you tell me I'm fighting in 10 minutes, I'm not fighting for an hour, I'm fighting in 10 minutes, I'm not fighting for an hour. Come on, guys. But how do you feel about Baden moving to 5s, 12s, and 30s? Do you like
absolutely
that?
love it.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it. It is, like, for me personally, it's exhausting. I mean, like, if you have a team that actually makes it through the whole 5s, so fights, how many fights? We had, I think, 8 fights. And bear in mind, the final is 3-way, so we fight 2 teams, right? If it happens, because people will always be, Russia 1, 2, 3, and they're not fighting against one another, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, fucking then make it to the final and make them fight.
Yeah, really.
Because if you make it to the final, you make them fight, right?
People argue about that deference thing. They get pissy about the deference thing. I'm like, no, that's gamesmanship. That's how you fight in a tournament. That's how you play a tournament. Exactly. That's how you play a game. We had the same thing happen at Carnage with the 2 Texas teams that one Texas team said, "Nah, we'll defer it. They can have the fight." And that's perfectly fine. That's gamesmanship. I don't like it when it happens. I fucking hate it. I don't like 3 5-man teams. I think that kind of is weird. I'd rather, and I think 12s and 10s. I think that's where the sport shines. I think that's the most fun. If there's a 10-man event happening within 4 hours of me, I'm driving to it.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I mean, I don't know if you know, but the 3-tier system, so bronze, silver, gold.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it as well, because when you've got like the starter nations and they have a low level and they can only have 1 team, because in bronze tier you can have only 1 team. All the talent goes to that team. The best fighters. Ideally, the best fighters are there. And they can progress because they fight with the teams on their own level. I mean, there is nothing, no disrespect to anyone, but it's not fun to fight a debutant on Battle of the Nations, because you do not go there to fight weak teams, right? And let's be honest, there are weaker teams, there are weak teams, and there are stronger teams. It's like in any sport. And it's really not fun. But the best of the weak ones can progress to the silver, and then the best from the silver can progress to the gold bracket, and so on. And I think it's a brilliant idea. I mean, I don't know if UK has got a depth to have 3 teams. We fielded 2 simply because we didn't have a depth enough. And now it will be compulsory to field 3 teams. If you do not field the team, then you get points deducted and so on. But that was a brilliant idea.
Clarify this for me. At bronze, you're only allowed to send 1 5-man team, 1 12-man team, or 1 30-man team. You're only allowed to send 1 team of any type.
So brackets only apply to 5v5.
Okay, fine.
So
they can send 1 5-man team. The other ones can send 2 and 3. Got it.
If you're a debutant nation and you have 30s, which is unlikely, of course, but you're still going to make coalitions and so on. But if you have a 12 team, even if you're a debutant nation, you can still have a 12 team.
Good.
So that brackets don't apply.
I'm about keeping the 5s tournament. If you want to keep that to a certain point, I don't like it because that means that more developed countries in the sport, more experience and everything else like that, means that they can have more teams, which gives them more of a chance to win. I'd rather 1 team of each country go, but that's just me. American fairness, sue me.
Well, I'll tell you how it looks from our perspective. As I told you, we fielded only 1 team, and I believe we fielded 2 teams, and I believe Denmark fielded 1 team. So the previous results meant that they are good enough to be in a golden bracket.
Yeah.
But there is not enough of fighters within the country to actually field it.
Yeah.
So that will mean that in the future, it's very unlikely that if you only have one strong team, you will actually manage to maintain that golden bracket spot.
It's understandable. That's a completely reasonable place to be at. Actually, talking about this, like, how have you seen the growth in your country, in the UK? How have you seen growth progress over time? Like, in the last 3 years in the United States, we've had a massive explosion of people wanting to be involved in the sport, wanting to try it out, wanting to do things. Are you seeing anything like that?
I don't see a massive explosion. I know there are more and more people fighting. I mean, I was a team captain for a bit, and I was a vice captain, and so on. But I'm probably the wrong person to grow the sport, because I'm focused on the results.
Yes, you are.
So for me, it's okay. I want to win, right? And it's not me personally. I want my team to win, right? So at the very beginning, we were all about recruitment, getting people into it, and like talking to people, come over to training, etc., and then so on. And what happened, there were lots of situations where I personally invested a lot of time into someone, right? So you get them kitted out, you tell them what to buy, you tell them where to buy it, you get them to the trainings, and so on, so on. The guy, goes into one tournament, and like, yeah, okay, that's enough. And that fucking makes me livid. Dude, I've just spent, I wasn't telling that to anyone in the face, but I'm like, what the fuck? Why did you waste my time? Because you wasted my time, right?
See, you don't call them out to their face. I've literally gone, hey, where the fuck are you? Like, I just spent 3 months training you, helping you get armor. Like, where the fuck did you go? And I also have just come to the conclusion that I'm like, that's just how people are. And that's just how the sport is. It's a lot. Me and you started at basically the same time. I started in late 2014, and then I went to IMCF in 2015. I have noticed that over time that I'm just like, there's just a carousel of people that go in and out of the sport. And I've just gone, okay, I'm going to put out the effort if they show me that they're going to put the effort forward. Like, if they're going to do the work, they're going to come out, they're going to show that they're hungry about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you get out what you put in, kind of thing. And that's kind of been how I go about it.
I'll help anyone who wants to get into it. I mean, when people contact us, I'll respond promptly. I'll tell them what to do. I'll tell them what not to do. So, do not buy fucking weapons. Do not buy your armor. Don't get anything before you speak to us face to face, and so on. But sometimes you can't help people. We had a guy who was attempting to join us. We told him what to do. Like, do not buy Eastern armor. I want to fight with a pole arm. That's what. I want to fight with a 200 weapon. You will not fight with a 200 weapon until you learn how to fight.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll fight with a 200 weapon. Why not? Because you can't fight for shit.
Yeah, you got to know how to use the big sumbitch to actually go do the thing. Like, I can't just send you out there with a two-handed axe. You think you're going to hit somebody? It's not how it works. You baseball bat one guy and you expect him to fall down, and he turns around, punches you in the mouth, and throws you over his hip. I'm like, that's not going to work.
Exactly. So, I fought with the polearm initially, and I was, I would say, average. If you look at the level, like in Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and so on. Top fighters, I would consider myself average there, and I decided not to fight with it because I wasn't such a benefit for the team as I would like to be. And it's not about my ego; it's about the result.
Yeah, and I understand that. Now, it kind of seems like White Company has gone to a complete sword and shield meta. You guys have gone to like a heavy grapple, like grinding people down, timing out rounds, getting 1 or 2 takedowns, and then going on from there. How have you noticed that in your transition with the team?
It kind of seemed really obvious. Like for me, my idols were always Partizan 1. And the first time we faced Partizan, they had 1 halberdier. Then during the Battle of the Nations, they also had 1. But in general, more often than not, they have 5 guys, falchions and shields, sometimes an axe.
There actually have been more single-handed axes coming into the sport with shields, and I'm like, hey, it's not a bad idea.
I hope I made them popular as well. You know, I had this really heavy axe, which was, you know, slowly being grinded down because it was deemed to be, well, there is no rule for the thickness of the weapon,
Yeah.
right? There is a minimum thickness, but there's no
No
maximum
maximum.
thickness. Yeah. So I had it thicker than average, right?
I think the
And I
picture. I
found
think
that
the
it was
picture I used has like it's like 2 centimeters thick at the edge.
no,
Like you just put it.
it's
You made
not.
a mace.
No, it's not 2 centimeters. It was. I mean, at its top thickness, I think it was around about 8 millimeters or something like that. So just under.
Just share of a centimeter.
Yeah.
I can still drive a nail with that guy.
Yeah. You could.
You
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Um,
And that was the whole idea, that the concussive force of it. So you know,
you made a mace that tapers down. That's all you did. Like,
not a mace.
It's almost a
Hammer.
mace. It's almost a mace.
Oh no, I hate maces. I hate maces.
I don't like maces either.
I think it's the absolutely useless type of weapon.
Yeah.
People still go with it.
It's simple, easy, and cheap. Like I can understand it to a
and
certain degree.
ineffective.
Yes, and ineffective. If you put one in your belt, as a sidearm because you lose the other one, at least you don't have to run back to the list and give your backup. Oh.
Yeah. You could have an axe.
Yeah, you could have an axe too. It doesn't matter. In the states, I've swung enough axes that I've broken the heads on because the makers just didn't have their shit figured out. I've just gone like, I have a mace sitting in my garage and it's just there so I can take it, throw it in the bag. I'm like, if all of my weapons fail, I still have a weapon somewhere. Like other than my fists, I have weapons other than my gauntlets. So okay, you guys are really based around fighting the bottom. You guys are going for gold medals. Like you all are sportsmen. You're not really thinking about like a super fun league or anything else like that, just shits and giggles or anything like that. You are very focused on going to world championships and winning, correct?
Yeah, for us, Buhurt League and Battle of the Nations are the prime, you know, prime tournaments and a prime, of course. It's all about so. You know, we had like had an invitation. So would you come here? Would you come there? And I'm like, look, for us, it's a calculation of the cost to the point ratio. How much we have to spend, and how many points we can get.
Yeah.
And it's really that simple. Yes, there are certain tournaments that we like more. You know, if they're like cyclical and so on. And you know, we may enjoy going somewhere, etc. But if you offer us a lot of points, I mean, not give us, but you know, there's a chance to get a lot of points.
Yeah.
And it's rather cheap to get there. We're coming.
Yeah. Buhurt League is how you get into Prime, right? It's like the standings in Buhurt League let you get into Prime, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in theory, top 10 plus the winners of the master tournament. So you've got Western European Master, Eastern European Master, and so on. If you win that tournament, you automatically get invited. That's how AMCM Mexico made it to Prime, and there was a team from Argentina as well invited in 2020.
Nice,
but they couldn't make it for the financial reasons.
Yeah.
So.
Dude, getting anywhere over to there is expensive as shit. I have found that out.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we've never fought in US.
Yeah.
Because the other way around, it would be also very expensive.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. I looked at flights for Australia so I could go and fight Sam Ride and go hang out with Battle Moses down there with Colin Campbell. And it's like, it's a $1,200 fucking plane ticket. And I'm like, how in the shit? Like, I thought globalization was real, guys. It'd take me $1,200 to get anywhere.
Well, look, I still need a visa to get to US.
Yeah, and that's another thing. And depending on how the COVID goes, like who can go where and do what. Like considering the Botan and IMCF are like one's in the summer, one's in the fall of this year. I'm still like on the wishy-washy of whether or not they'll actually happen. Or they might, but it might just like the Americans might not be able to go. South America might not be able to go. Yeah. Like there'll be major restrictions.
Personally, I think there will be some Battle of the Nations will have to be postponed from where it is right now. If it's autumn, maybe, if it's next year, I'm fine with both. What I would not want to happen, I mean, look, if we don't make it, tough shit, right? I'll be pissed off, but I kind of have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it would be a shame if it's a really low level tournament or a lower level tournament if lots of the countries can't make it.
Yeah.
That would be a really big shame. In terms of IMCF, Poland is like on and off, with restrictions. They heighten them, they lower them, etc. It's going back and forth. But I've got a feeling that IMCF is going to happen.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, from what I've been observing, in Poland, because of course I'm Polish, and
your
I've been
wife
flying.
lives there, for God's sake. So, like, you probably
no. She lives with me in London.
Okay, good. But you still have connections there. You'd be able to hear and see what they're doing and everything else like that. Like, I really kind of wanted to go back to this IMCF because I wanted to go back to Malberg. I really enjoyed Malberg, but I also wanted to go to Romania and I wanted to go to a different damn country and go fight people. And also that fortress in Romania looks amazing. Yeah, like, but I don't think if they push Botten back and they then have to push it back further, I'm like, you might as well just call it for next year, because nobody wants to fight in Romania during the fucking winter. Nobody wants to travel in Romania in winter, I don't think.
I mean, I'm used to that kind of weather, so we would have an advantage.
Yeah, and then the Spanish come, and then the Mexicans come, and the Brazilians. It's like, oh yeah, this is fucking terrible.
Or Texans.
Yeah, toughen up. Wear some extra furs. It'll be okay. You'll be warm in your armor. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Don't worry about that frostbite. You don't need that toe.
We fought a tournament in Germany in January 2000. That was the first outing of White Company. So 2018 January, and it was fucking freezing. I mean, you got hit on a gauntlet, and your fingers inside were crumbling. It was so painful. We've got pictures like standing next to gas heaters, like heating up our fingers and so on. It was dreadful. I do not want to fight outdoors in winter again.
Yeah, it's no good. Like, if I'm doing like rattan fighting, if I'm doing foam fighting, I move around a lot more, so I stay a lot fucking warmer. In steel fighting, there's a lot of downtime between fights. I'm like, all that sweat that's built up in there, I'm gonna get cold. Like, don't do that. So, question about training. We're gonna bounce all over. I got a list of things, but talking about training and everything else like that, where do you stand on using foam versus using steel all the time, like using foam weapons and doing foam combat? How do you feel about that?
So it's definitely a great thing to do, because you've
also,
got
Land
to remember
called you
about
a baby. Land Pearson's calling you a baby.
Yeah, well, next time we'll meet in 30s.
Yeah.
He's going to get his ass kicked by a baby. Yeah. So you've got to remember about wear and tear, right? Wearing the armor all the time and fighting, especially with steel, there's a risk of injury, etc. But also your equipment wears out much quicker. There was a time where we had more damage to the equipment done during the training and then ever on tournaments. And we finally switched to fiberglass. So basically it's not foam. We use normally it's pickaxe handles. We cut off the white bit and we use that as weapons. So if we're fighting in steel, we use pickaxe handles, and believe me, these pickaxe handles, especially on like thighs, hips, asses, they're not much nice. More.
It's like getting hit with a rattan stick.
Yeah. You get whacked with this, and we had knockouts. We had people winded. Yeah, we had people winded with it, and hit on the ribs, and so on, and people are down on the ground.
Yeah.
So that's brilliant. I'm still yet to find equipment that would be suitable for Buhurt like foam Buhurt. The main problem are the helmets, because when the wrestling happens, the foam helmets come off really quickly. You pull your head back, you're gone.
Yeah.
Right. So there would have to be some kind of mix, but I don't like mixing steel helmets, for example, or elements of steel armor with foam.
Yeah, it's not
equipment
good.
gets destroyed really quickly, and it's also pointless. Like, how are you going to hit someone on the head with a foam stick if they're wearing a metal helmet?
That's how you end up hurting each other.
Pointless. I mean, you won't feel anything, right? So that's pointless. I'm a big fan of using like adaptive methods. So it's not full steel fighting. Full steel is basically for tournaments, not for our trainings. If it would be like a national training with like mock-up fights, then yes. Otherwise, it's always sticks, fiberglass, and for 1v1, like motorcycle protection, helmets, foam weapons, and so on. That's brilliant.
I think the us moving to foam allows more reps, more practicing. It allows you to do more to practice rather than, hey, let's put all our steel armor on for a fucking hour and a half, and then we're gonna do 5 fights, and then we're all gonna be tired as shit. I think a way to get to the deal with the helmet problem for grappling, because I really do like doing foam fight grappling. Buckles on the chests and the backs. If you have the full foam like chest armor, just put one of them simple little clip your johns and just clip the bitch and clip the bitch. I think
we haven't tried that. That might work.
I've thought about this because I have a bunch of dudes that I want to start training and like foam kits and everything else like that. I'm like, how can I actually teach like grappling with the foam stuff? Because I don't feel like I don't want to put them in like helmets more than I have to, but I want to put them in helmets a bunch. But like if I'm already in foam kit, I don't want to have to shift over to steel fighting helmets. I just want to go from one thing to the next in practice.
100%. And also, there is this tendency of using heavier items for training than for fighting,
which is weird.
So people will they will take an extra heavy weapon, etc. That's not weird, that's dumb. It doesn't work. I mean, come on, look, I know that famous boxers used dumbbells and they do shadow boxing with dumbbells. Well, hold on, where is the vector of the force going? Because if you hold a dumbbell in your hand and you're striking, the force is down. Which way you want to generate the force? Up?
Laterally.
Or do you want to generate it forward, right?
Yeah, forward.
So you're not getting any benefit from that. Another thing, replicating the movements from fighting with heavy weapons or replicating them in a gym, which is dumb as fuck, it breaks the technique down, right? Because you have to compensate. And that compensation messes up your technique.
When you're doing Pell work, you're actually building muscle memory. So if you're building you're building all that extra strength that you need in your muscle memory, where the muscle memory is about technique. I'm not talking. You don't need to generate power for muscle memory. You need to generate technique and angles and how you throw the blow, how you throw the sword. That is what you're building up for Pell. If you want to go out with a heavier weapon every now and again and just hack at something, sure, it's a heavier workout, whatever. You want to get really big blows on something, go use the heavier thing because it takes a lot longer to bring up and bring back into the chop. Like, I get that. That kind of makes sense if you're trying to generate power, you're working on that. But at the same time, you're still working your muscle memory when you're trying to generate power from the ground in your hips and how you turn and everything else like that, and then how the axe blow lands. So it goes back.
Bear in mind that in power generation, you have to move as fast as possible and not as strong as possible.
Yeah.
So the power generation comes from really fast movement, and also if you look at the research, so that's especially relevant to like Olympic lifting, etc. After the 4th repetition, usually the power production goes down. So 4th is kind of like okay, 3 is max. So if you want to generate real power, you should not be hitting more than 3 times, right? Okay. So if you're working on the power of the single speed, of the single strike, three is more than enough. Three generated like one after the other.
Yeah.
Because you will not be generating as fast. Of course, for the muscle memory, it's not free. It's 300.
Yeah.
So,
Josh Kearney, I'm looking at the chat. People use weighted shadow boxing wrong. Shadow boxing is supposed to be done slowly with an emphasis on technique. Weighting your hands works the muscles in that way to improves muscular endurance. That makes sense. You're supposed to do it slow. And that's another thing about lifting. If you make your lift slower, you're actually working your muscles more. And you set down slow. If you lift quick and you set down slow, you build that resistance. You build that endurance. That's how you're really supposed to lift. Not this like doing curls like a mile a minute or some shit.
Yeah, squatting and wearing the armored legs to get used to the armor. Oh god, that was like the dumbest video I've ever. No, the dumbest video was the obstacle course.
Oh yeah, the obstacle course. Well, I think that video is actually pretty good for showing, hey, knights in armor aren't just like lumbering idiots. Like they can move, we can do stuff in our armor.
I don't know if we're talking about the same one.
Probably
because
aren't.
that guy looks like a lumbering idiot, and he falls over quite a few times. So.
I've done a couple like at a couple of conventions we've gone to. I've done a couple of the not the CrossFit, but the Tough Mudder stuff or whatever it is, the runs with all the obstacles and shit. We've done a couple of those in our armor, and they're like, "Wow, you got over that a lot quicker than we thought." I'm like, "Sorry, we're athletes, and we can actually move in this thing. It's not just like big dorks and full plate." Which there are big dorks and full plate. They're okay.
I mean, come on, doing it for fun, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Doing it as a training. No. Whenever we're gonna run, I mean, what is the distance across the list?
Oh, maybe what?
Lengthwise, 20
meters?
20 meters maximum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why would you run 3
diagonally,
kilometers?
maybe?
Yeah. Why would you run 2 miles in armor?
Yeah. I do tell my people that I'm training, I'm like, I want you to put on your arms and your gauntlets. And I want you to just do this when you're running. And that's a thing that I learned in football. Like, you don't always have to do it with your armor on, but doing this while you're running to train your hands to stay up. It's a wrestling, boxing, football thing, like keeping your hands up and maintaining the endurance to keep doing this, because this is the most defensive place. I'm like, if there's anywhere that you still want to be like strong enough, it's when you're getting the shit kicked out of you by 5 pole arms and you still want to be able to put your arms up so they don't break your head open, kind of thing. Nope. It puts you in that fighting position, and it helps you maintain like all this shoulder and the back of your arms and your traps and everything else like that. Lets you build up that endurance kind of thing. That's just been what I've seen. I've got a lot of stuff going on in chat real quick. Let me read this.
That's good.
Yeah, there's 26 people in chat. If you guys got questions, go ahead and throw them at us, because me and him have been doing it the same amount of time. He's got a lot more accolades to his fucking thing because he's able to travel a lot more. When I train, I shift force equals mass times acceleration. Yes, thank you for. I don't even know what that is. What math problem that is? What equation that is?
Yeah.
Running in armor is the worst idea ever. Just the thought makes my knees hurt. Yes, in your legs, anything sitting on your hips a lot. The only reason I say about gauntlets is because it's not really beating on your body. It's not dragging you down a lot. But you have to be used to holding your hands up with fucking gauntlets on. Gauntlets are heavy. Yeah. Like, this thing weighs a lot. They're also the size of like a house, so it works out. How do you work on your breathing? How do you train your breathing when you're in your helmet? Are you wearing a wolf rib now?
Yeah, I'm wearing wolf rib for first one I got was for Battle of the Nations in Italy, and since then I've changed the helmet, but it's still a wolf rib.
Ugly fucking helmets. It's ugly.
Yeah,
ugly.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. But I mean, some of them look badass.
Yeah,
there are some people who can make helmets look really badass. It's the same type of helmet, but they will look awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone else will make it look bleh.
Yeah.
So okay, look. How do you work on your breathing? The helmet does not disturb me with breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it doesn't matter if I would wear a full face visor. Why I don't wear it? For me, it's about the vision, right? So the reason I've changed from the nasal, where I had big ass eye slots, is because I could not see down.
Yeah.
Right. because of the chairman being here, I could not see people's feet,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was mainly for pro fights, duels, etc., to be able to see people's feet.
Yeah.
Um, but also it's the field of vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wear wolf rib because of the vision and because of the maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Because nasal, that chainmail by fucking breaks all the
Mm-hmm.
time. Why I'm wearing the cloth Aventail and so on? Because it's very easy to replace,
Yeah.
right? If it rips,
Just cut it off, put a
it's
new one
very
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it's very, putting patches in and so on. There is no such fucking thing as that CO2 backwards. Jesus Christ, that makes my brain melt.
CO2 backwash. That bar in the middle is giving you some CO2 backwash.
What the fuck did that come from?
Look, man,
I
the
mean,
internet's a terrible place. Like, Facebook is horrific. We both agree. We both
oh,
understand. Um, I
I mean, like there are people like, oh, well, because you're wearing wolf rib and wear a full face helmet. I mean, okay, Vitaly Griswold, he's wearing a freaking full face helmet all the time, and he doesn't have a problem with breathing.
yeah,
Guess why? Because he's fucking fit,
yeah,
right? So it's the question of endurance,
yeah.
right? Especially anaerobic endurance.
Mm-hmm.
Aerobic endurance comes in between the fights,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you're recovering, that's
Mm-hmm.
your aerobic endurance. You manage to lower your heart rate down, you manage to, slow down the breathing, etc. In the fight, it's aerobic endurance. So if you have better aerobic endurance and you train for that, that's how it's easier to breathe.
I'm
Another thing
actually
is that
I'm actually coaching the guy that's going to Botten for USA. I'm coaching the guy that's going for sword and board single. I told him, I'm like, I want you
Mhm.
to be able to recover your breath and lower your heart rate and get your breath back in less than a minute. That is the most
Yeah,
important thing. That, like, you're not going to be calm. You're going to be inside your helmet because we can pop the visor, but you can't take your helmet off and put it back on in a
yeah,
minute in any reasonable amount of
yeah,
time. I'm
yeah,
like, that middle section where you're able to rest is where you really need to fucking worry about it. The minute sprint is
exactly.
whatever. Everything else is what you need.
Plus, the other thing is people are panicking
Yeah.
and they forget about breathing, right? So they don't control it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's we can consciously control the ratio of
Mm-hmm.
breathing to the certain extent,
Yeah.
right? But you just have to maintain it, right? The other thing is, people don't realize that how how long can you sustain a maximum effort?
Yeah.
Well, 10 seconds, because you're going to run out of phosphocreatine, and no matter how much oxygen you have,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have phosphocreatine, you do not have maximum effort, right?
Yeah.
Then it's like glycogen. People do not understand the energy systems. So you have to work to develop these energy systems, and the better you get at utilizing the energy in the aerobic,
Mm-hmm.
anaerobic
Yeah.
system, the better, the easier it will be for you to fight, right? The other thing is when you put on the armor and your conditioning was without an armor and you
Mm-hmm.
haven't done enough sparring and so on, because the only way to get conditioned to the fights is fucking fighting.
Yeah.
You can do all sorts of stuff to get prepared, and that's fine. But then when you put everything on, there are different factors. The
Yep.
stress, emotions, etc., etc. People don't realize how that their heart rate goes through the roof while they're still standing before
Mm-hmm.
the fights because they are so stressed, right? So you have to learn how to control that as well,
Yep.
and forget about fucking CO2 backwash. Jesus Christ.
I like people ask me all the time. They're like, "How do you breathe in that helmet?" There are no mouth holes. There's no holes below my nose.
Yeah.
Like there's two piercings in there. I'm like, I don't. I literally don't. Like I breathe. I do, but I
Yeah.
don't think about breathing until I stop
Yeah.
fighting, and then I have to do
Yeah.
like. I have to slow everything the fuck back down because I'm like, I know that I can't pull anything from right in front of my face. I'm pulling from the
Yeah.
sides and a little bit of nose and my eye holes. I'm like, I know that that's a thing. And sometimes I still have that moment where I need to get this fucking helmet off because I just hacked
Mm-hmm.
at 12 dudes and I got jumped on by 3 other guys. I've been fighting hard for the last 40 seconds. I'm going to die
Mm-hmm.
if I don't take off this helmet. I know that that's a lie. I know that that's complete bullshit. But I just need to go, okay, I have full air, put my helmet back on, strap it on, and I'm good to go again. Everybody has those moments, and like new guys. I was at a fight the other day, like a month or so back now. But there were two newer teams. We were going to do 10 on 10s. I drove for 10 on 10s. We made it through 3 rounds of 10 on 10s, and then it went to 5 on 5s, and then it went to 3 on 3s. And I'm like, wait a minute, guys. I had to remember that I'm like, most of these guys are new. They've only fought 1 or 2 fights in the backyard. They have not actually had to deal with like being in a full tournament, doing multiple like reps and sessions and doing stuff constantly, and it takes time to get used to that. And falling back on helm time is the only way you can really truly train well about this. You can do everything else in the world, but you really need to go out and fight people.
So you see, we've implemented one of these methods in our training. We call it resurrections. So basically what we've noticed is that the training fights were fairly fast. So you fight, sometimes, 40 seconds, the round is gone, the fight is gone. 2 rounds of 40 seconds, well, that's nothing, right? But you still get tired. Okay, but who benefits the most? Because, the team that won, the guys that are still standing, they've been on their feet for 40 seconds.
Yeah.
But some people may have been fighting for 10, right? What's the benefit of it? Well, fuck all, right? So we have introduced something we call the resurrections. Basically, we set the time and we say, okay, today we're doing rounds of 4 minutes, okay? And it's 4 minutes of constant fighting. If you get dropped to the ground, you've got 15 seconds on the ground or 20 seconds, whatever we said, right? And then you get up and you are allowed to join your team and so on. Why do we give these 20 seconds? Not for someone to recover, but for the team to have that moment of advantage where they can utilize a different tactic, 2-on-1, doubling up on a fighter and so on. But then also they have to be aware that this motherfucker is going to get up and they're going to get attacked from behind.
He could be the guy that like you forgot about in the backside of the field, and he took care of his dude. Now he's coming in to clear you out. That's actually a really good training situation. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So, and our endurance went through the roof since we introduced that.
I mean, most of the fights that I've seen with you guys has been you timing out the fight. Like you've gone like what 4.5 minutes or something like that, and like 2 guys go down. Like you guys are in it for the endurance game, and you're about that rail usage and about taking advantage of that rail. Now, when you guys are heavy users of the rail because you're big grapplers, right? That's what I've seen. I consume a lot of media and I watch a lot of white company fights.
Thank you.
Do you? How are your feelings about the rail? Is it there? It's a tool, obviously. It's another thing, but do you like swear by it? Are you going to use it at all costs? Like, are you trying to use the rail, or are you trying to take them down, and then if the rail's there, you can use it, kind of
thing? For us, it's about winning. Okay, who wins? The team that stays on their feet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So if it's 5-on-4, have we won? Yes, we have. Of course, it's better for us to take the other team down. But in White Company, we had a point system, like a ranking system.
Yeah.
Basically, if we won the round, whoever was on their feet was awarded 1 point. If we lost the round, the last man standing was awarded 1 point. And if you committed suicide, you were getting -3 points.
Yeah, there you go. I hate suicide.
Suicide was defined as deliberately going down with someone, right?
Okay.
So your intention is to take the other fighter down while going down with him. If you being thrown and you grab the fighter and you fall with him,
you falling and like rip him to the ground with you.
Shit, that's okay, right? Okay. But if you are, let's say, you hook the pole arm behind his back and you drop on your back, well, you're an asshole, right?
Yeah.
In our team, at least, right? So that was,
What if that one guy had 2 dudes?
If that won us the fight, probably you wouldn't be deemed a suicider. But have you ever seen that?
It's very rare.
It's very rare. I mean, not on the top level team.
No.
So the reason we use the rails is because, well, it gives us an advantage. The rail is a six fighter, right?
Yeah.
And until these rules are in, we'll be fighting like that. I fought in IMCF. We were not allowed to use the rails. Okay.
Oh, hell, we were allowed to use the rails a lot more than you're allowed to use the rails now. We used to be able to chicken wing it. Now they're not allowing it at all.
Do you know what? Now it's so ambiguous, and
I don't think it's ambiguous. I don't think it's ambiguous. The way that it was explained to me, because I called Benoit, like I made a video about rail usage. I made a quick little video about rail usage. I called Benoit because I'm like, hey, I need to know how the IMCF rules this, because it's not really the most. It's a little wishy-washy. Benoit explained it. He's like, look, any intentional usage of the rail to hook or grab or anything else like that, other than leaning on it, you can lean on it still. Other than leaning on it, is considered grasping the rail, and a ref will start to count 1, 2, 3 at you.
I get it.
Okay.
I understand that there's a theory, but the practice is completely different. I'll give you an example from Marlborough.
It's too much ref arbitration on my part, in my feelings.
Yeah. Do you know why Łukasz was sat down in Marlborough? Do you know why?
No.
He was pushed. There was a middle rail, right? While he was pushed, he sat down on that middle beam.
Wait, right? They sat him because of that?
Yeah. And he got up and, started fighting.
Yeah.
They sat him down, and the ref's explanation was, well, if the middle beam wasn't there, you would have fallen.
Fuck you, the middle beam was there. I had a middle beam. Fuck you.
So, look, I know it was years ago and so on, and I know the theory is there. Good for them, but in current circumstances, look, you wouldn't get me to fight in there. Right?
I understand. I understand not wanting to be on that. I also like the idea of not being able to use the rail. If it was just a hard line, like you can lean against it, just don't grab the son of a bitch. I'm fine with that too. I say make the rails tall enough that I can't grab around the son of a bitch. Then make it a wall.
Yeah. Look, for quite a bit while we didn't have a gym, the only thing that we had was actually like a metal fence, quite hard, and open field on the other side. And we were using that metal fence. You couldn't grab it. You could lean against it and so on. And we fought on it for a year. It gave us a lot of experience on fighting and something like that, but it wasn't an experience of fighting on a solid list.
Yeah.
I fought on different lists. Personally, what I would like to see is the comeback of the low lists. I really like them. I know that they will not come back because they deem to be dangerous, working basically like an anvil.
Yeah.
In certain circumstances, I've seen that video with a proposal where they are proposing to have a top board.
Yeah, it's like a 2-foot wide board or something like that. You can't wrap your arm around or something.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Look, whatever is there, we will adjust our fighting to whatever is there.
You adapt,
and we'll be fighting like that.
Yeah.
But we'll take an advantage of what we can. So if it's within the rules and we can use it to our advantage, we will be using that to our advantage.
Yeah.
What I want is clarity, so that there is no interpretation.
Yeah.
Well, no, he was there 3.5 seconds. Well, no, I think it was 2.8 seconds. Well, he was chicken winging. No, he was hooking.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck off.
Steel fighters are really simple guys. You can't keep throwing whack rules at us and expect us to be able to understand all of them at all times. Yeah. And there's also another thing about steel fighters that we're kind of persnickety about stuff. We get real. We will split the hair as much as humanly possible because we're all trying to win, or we're trying to get somewhere else with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, but splitting the hair also comes from the fact that the rules are not covering certain areas.
Yeah.
So splitting nitpicking. Look, what if this? What if that? Well, I think it's a brilliant thing because that gives an opportunity for the Marshall Committee to look. Oh, we need to address this. We need to address that. And there is no ambiguity. What happens?
Yeah.
Right. And that makes sense.
I'd rather it be factual. I'd rather it be factual in the context of rules than interpreted. I don't need an
Yeah.
interpretation. I need the fucking ruling, and I need to know how the rule's
Yep.
gonna. I need to know how the rule is read and how it is how it is implemented. That's kind of what
Yeah.
I want to know, and I don't want to have a half-hour conversation with all the marshals beforehand. It should be really fucking simple, dry, cut. Like, I want all my fighters to be able to understand this, so I don't have to worry about a yellow card or some bullshit from some ref that got pissed off. Because
Yeah.
the fighter's immediately going to get up and go, why you sat me down for this? They'll start arguing with them, which then turns into a yellow card. And if they get shitty enough, they get a red card and fuck the whole team.
Yeah.
That's a thing that I tell all my guys, I'm like, just shut the fuck up and come get me. That's all you got to do. Just shut up, go get whoever's the captain and tell them, hey, we need to talk about this. This is goofy as shit. Steel fighters, and they get pissed off about getting sat down.
Just make sure it doesn't lead to the 55-minute fight. So.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Don't fucking start. Don't.
Hey, I was standing outside of that list because my fight was next, so I already had a helmet on at the beginning of that fight.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Where do you see the sport going? Where do you see Buhurt, steel fighting, goofy crap?
So I think bigger categories will become more prominent. So like 12s, and the fact that there is already a league for the 12s is actually brilliant. I love that. Of course, most of the teams will have to organize, the coalitions, but the point system that the division of the points is pretty good. I mean, it's the best that can be
figured out
there.
That's what's current.
Yeah, I think there will be a shift towards league tournaments. So something that gives you this standing, this international standing, and you at least virtually compete with the other teams. It's not just the tournament for the sake of tournament.
Yeah,
that will kind of start disappearing, and so on. We are introducing a Buhurt league within UK, so they're like basing it on a Polish and French model, because both Poland and France have their internal leagues, but points in that the tournament can be both in a Buhurt league and can be at the same time giving you points in your national league and a national standing.
Yeah.
And that's I had an idea of that back in 2016, and that got shut down. So thankfully, 5 years down the road, it comes up, and I love it. So two things I think will happen. One is the bigger prominence of like organized and sanctioned tournaments, and two bigger tournaments. I mean, bigger nominations. So 12v12, especially, and I absolutely love that nomination. It's like,
yeah. I'm definitely waiting to see it. I wouldn't say get more attention by mainstream stuff, because like when you start adding in, like, that brings more numbers, that makes the fighters better, that brings more money, makes everything better and everything else like that. I also sometimes think that it will dilute the sport, or maybe take it in other directions that we don't want it to, and we don't have control over it because it's nebulous in its ideas. In the US, we have more, like 85% of the people that are doing fighting in the US aren't thinking about going overseas. Yes, it is a pipe dream, it's a goal at some point in time, but we have so much fighting that we can do here in the States already. Like, they want to fight more here in the States and build more of a local scene, which I think is commendable, because that is how you get more people involved in the sport, more eyes on it, and then we can then get to bigger things and bigger situations.
Yeah. I mean, one other thing that I think will happen is HMB Soft or MFC, or in general, the foam fighting for the younger generation actually needs to become more prominent, because if we want the sport to grow, we have to have kids involved, right? The problem is, I mean, at least in UK, I see the difference in like the perception. because it's perceived to be violent.
That was
right?
that was another question. How is it perceived in the UK? Like, how do people see the sport in the UK?
So we don't have that much exposure onto the public because it's difficult to find a venue, like
Yeah.
really difficult. There's, US is litigious, but UK is litigious as well. And of course, oh, insurance. What if this happens? What if that happens? Risk assessments and so on. Oh, you're fighting for real. Oh no, and so on. And like people are horrified. We fought on this festival, Download Festival, was like a metal, quite a big metal festival, and so on. And people absolutely loved it. And in general, people who come close and see it, they love it. But officials are really cautious. So, you have to pack it in this like, it's like a cultural sports thing and so on. But it's difficult to get through, especially like, in London, and everyone wants money. So if you want to appear somewhere like, well, pay us. I'm like, why not, let's organize it.
Yeah.
It will happen 1 year. Okay, maybe we'll make it, bi-yearly, every 6 months. We'll organize it again. You'll make your money from the tickets. But that's really difficult.
Yeah.
So, if people come and they watch it, I've never seen a reaction of like, well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
In general, the reactions were like, guys, you're nuts.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome.
Like, you're fucking nuts. Like, I'm gonna come watch this every time you do it because this is crazy. That's generally how I see it here in the States. I have a lot of people come and ask me if I'm LARPing. I look at them and go, no, I am actually like hitting that dude with an axe. He's actually hitting me with his sword. It's a real fight. It's not like choreographed in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, it's not possible. No, it is.
Fuck. Like, that was the thing about Night Fight. Like, when Night Fight came out and everybody was like, this isn't real. Those are foam swords. Those are foam axes. I'm like, no, dude, the blood is not fake. I know that there's a WWE guy up there judging, but guess what? Everything we're doing right now is real. Everything is very real. And like, I took pictures of the crisscrossed plates that were bent on the back of my armor from Simon hitting me. I'm like, those are real metal. His axe hit me in the spine several times, and it left dents. It left creases. Like, this is real. And they're like, oh. And they looked at it completely differently. And that's like the lowest common denominator that show was made. It was made as a piece of entertainment. We both know this. It was not like an actual representation of the sport, but it has been, other than the Vice article, like at least for the U.S., that has been one of the biggest things that has brought more people to us. And they're like, hey, like people come to me like, hey, how do I fight like a Night Fight? I'm like, well, the sport's a little different, but it's a lot more fun because it's not as goofy and weird as that was.
So you see, I got into the sport by watching the BBC documentary. So basically, they followed Team UK to Battle of the Nations in France, 2013. It was kind of like, what they do here in UK, trainings, etc., travel, fight, and so on.
That's kind of how that's how the Vice documentary was for us.
Yeah. But you're talking about the Vice documentary that was like following the US team in Portugal.
Yes.
Dude, that's brilliant because if watching it, I thought US won.
Yeah. It's the best, right? Gotta tell you. Well, I mean, it was like that's all about framing. And so, like, we have to know as fighters is like that framing is how they wanted to frame it, and that's how you get more eyes on it that have no idea what the fuck we're doing.
100%.
It's just like Night Fight. Like, I know that you have strong feelings about Night Fight. It's like me and you talked about it. It was pretty funny.
I expressed it, quite clearly. I really wanted to watch it, right? Because when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, cool! It's something like that's gonna happen." But then, as I said, I hated the execution. I hated the sound effects.
The judges,
there was
the commentary that was coming out of people and everything like that. Yeah.
I picked on the trainers that are in one of the there was one shot where the trainers were there for like a second. So like I understand that they're there for a second, but if you've got 37 fighters wearing medieval boots, why the fuck do you put that frame with medieval with trainers?
Yeah. By
Because
the way, trainers he means tennis shoes. The white New Balances that were flashing across the screen. Yes.
Yeah. So that was awful, and the comments. Okay, I get the framing. You've got the barbarian. Like your episode that was like romance against barbarians.
Yeah.
You got this Braveheart episode, of course. And so on. Even Braveheart episodes. In Braveheart episode, they talk about 14th century weapons. Well, considering that he was killed in 1305, that's more 13th century weapons, not 14th century weapons. Yeah. But never mind. But then you've got a chainmail which is like 1,000-year-old. I'm like, fuck. And the pole arms were equivalent of artillery. I'm like, what?
No, actual artillery was artillery.
Yeah, exactly. And when you've got, sorry, my bad. I should have reminded myself about the name of the Hema dude. And he's he's got this piece where he's talking about falchion. And he had this like a fancy grip where he had his finger on the top on a blade so that it's more agile and so on. And as he started hitting the pel with it, his grip
changes.
You could tell that it was so weak that he could not control the weapon. So as he hits it, he grabs it like ham-fisted like this, and then starts whacking it.
Yeah,
I'm like, I was laughing so fucking hard.
What the way that when he shows that it's actually a saber grip, that's how you like fight with sabers. Like you put your thumb on the side, you put your finger up here, and that's actually how you do that's how you redirect the tip into the guy's collarbone and go around it and stab him through his like all the way through him, kind of thing. That's how you use.
The problem is
grip.
He didn't have enough grip, enough strength in his wrist to do it.
But he's using a falchion. A falchion's about chopping dudes' limbs off. Like this is you chop a guy in the collarbone, you chop him in the arm, you chop his leg off. Somewhere you chop at him. You're not like fancy parry and bullshit. Everything above your fucking shoulders. For what it was, yes, John Clements is the name of the man. He is very knowledgeable on a lot of things. Sometimes he misses his, I don't know, like how the fuck he put, like how the framing, how he applies it sometimes. He has a lot of knowledge. I've watched videos
I have no doubt that in theory he's much better than I am, and his knowledge is vast, bigger than mine. However, he looked like a clown in that. He
also has no idea what he's looking at when he looks at our shit. Come on, a lance fucking longsword is that fucking wide, dude. Like the length of it is that wide. It's not like anything like we use.
Plus, let me just make sure that for all the people in the comments, whatever I say, it's my opinion. It's not a fact.
I think they're pretty understanding of the fact that like you're another human being. You have your own opinions, and they're like assholes. Everyone's got one. And me and you talked a little bit beforehand about this because I kind of wanted to gauge your feelings on it, so I didn't have like this huge fucking blow up and I had to hit the end stream button at some point in time because you went on some kind of fucking rant or some bullshit. But like I think you're a lot more reasonable than people give you credit for. You're also a troll on Facebook, and that's why I hate social media because it's trash.
I take pleasure in trolling people and so on.
Yeah. What do you see comparatively to the European meta and the U.S. meta and how the U.S. teams fight? Like even the high-end U.S. teams. Like what are you seeing in differences?
So you guys seem to have an obsession with these short double-handed axes.
Do they work?
Right. I would disagree, but
some people have better aim than others. How's that?
Yeah, I mean. Of course, there are fighters who can use it, right? We've got a guy in UK, Team Martin. He's absolutely vicious with a fairly short double-handed axe. It's longer than the ones that you guys in the US, but he's very accurate. He's special tactics and so on. What I really don't like in US, when the fight starts, this is the grip on the weapon. Overhand grip on the weapon like that. I know what you're going to do. You're going to use your hockey stick, run around, and try to push me.
Yeah.
So I know I will never get hit, right? That's the way some people fight. Okay, fine. Yeah. I don't know why you have a weapon then.
It's application to a lacrosse stick or a hockey stick because cross checks are real.
I completely realize why. I think it's pointless in our sport, but fair enough. Someone wants to do it, let them do it. That's one thing. The second thing is, everything has to be the biggest, the biggest, the heaviest, and so on. And people kind of like, take pride. Oh, my armor is like 150 pounds, and my is 170 pounds, and so on. Like, for fuck's sake, why do you want the heavier armor? And okay, you are big, universe. I realize that. Well, I'm 120 kilos, so I'm not the smallest person.
We weigh about the same, actually.
Yeah, but you are way taller than I am.
You're also built like a goddamn gorilla. Jesus, you're strong as shit. I saw you talking with Grant. I watched one where it was you and Grant, I think, talking on the Sweaty Gamison. Or what? No, it's the Armored Gamison or whatever it was. And you sit next to that dude, you're just like fucking huge. I'm like, Jesus Christ, calm down, buddy. It's okay. Like, you don't have to lift the whole cop car up. You don't have to flip it over. It's gonna be okay.
There we go. But so people use heavy ass padding. Then the armor is really big, and they expand and expand and expand. And then there's a question: well, how do you breathe? Well, I weigh fucking half of you, so that's how I breathe. Yeah. So I don't need that much oxygen to actually fuel my body. So that's kind of these are the tendencies that I see. As I said, I've never fought in the US. I would love to come over, especially to Texas. So if anyone wants to, invite me. I'm generally fan of like Texas, Virginia, and these places.
Yeah.
So these are the things that I see. There's one more thing that I can't stand, which is the football referees.
You don't like referee shirts?
Oh, fuck me! This is awful. What? Look at the HMB. Look at the HMB, right?
Yeah, and they look like ponces. What do you want?
And that's fine.
I got him cut out. Got him.
Dude, that is awful. That is fucking awful. Like the football referee shirts.
Do you know why?
No.
Do you understand why?
I know. I understand. It's the cultural thing, right? Yes. It's instantly recognizable, right? Mm-hmm. And it's identifiable and so on. Like, look, shit. Just like the numbers on the backs, right? Now we have the numbers on the crest. Belt flag, I think it's a great compromise. I'm all for it. The numbers on the back, and if someone put the name there, go fuck it.
I'd say Roman numerals on the back would be better. I've watched enough like Buhurt League stuff and like other Buhurt things that have come out where they have the belt flags. And realistically, I cannot see the belt flags. I'm like, I want to know who this motherfucker is doing this thing. I can't see his belt flag kind of thing.
Bear in mind that you would have to create a additional crest because of the pattern of the tabard.
Yeah.
Polish team has got an eagle.
Yeah, they do it. Like, what about arm flaps with fucking with the number on it or the Roman numerals? I think that would work too. But like around the hips is like sometimes it fucks you up because you can't see it there in the grapple and everything like that. Like
Roman numerals. Half of the people fighting can't fucking count, and you want them to know Roman numerals.
Yes. It's not for the fighters to know things. It's for the announcers to know things, or the people looking at shit afterwards. Like they're usually smarter.
I mean, especially if someone comes to I don't know, we've got 50 fighters in Battle of the Nations, okay? Well, good luck to the guy who gets 49.
Yeah.
Or 48,
Yeah, that
or something like that.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would be pretty rough. I just want to give a shout out to my boys over at Total Armor Nutrition. They're doing the good work. I'm drinking pre-workout as we talk. Actually, like I'm like jacking myself up for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay, fair enough.
It tastes good. I don't know. I'll probably run around and do like 40 laps around my house or do like 800 burpees or something like that when we get done. Because I actually need to like go back to like really training. I've been doing pel work. I've been hitting stuff. I've been working on my weapons form and everything else like that. I'm like, man, I need to do more push-ups. I need to go. I've done my running. I do my easy jogging runs and everything else like that. I'm like, I need to do my high-intensity shit so I can get back to high-intensity shit. It's been driving me nuts.
I've done 500 burpees as a punishment. If you skip a training in White Company, you have to do 100 burpees, and they accumulate. So I was a lazy twat, and had to do 500. So that wasn't fun.
That was something. Who's the team captain for White Company right now?
Łukasz Kowal.
Okay. Did he do the talk with Grant the other day with
I don't think so. Maybe Anthony. If you're talking about someone from...
one of the things that's shown up in all this COVID stuff is the lack of
Daniel. It was Daniel Winter. He's
Daniel Winter.
Team UK captain. Yeah.
One thing he said was that COVID is showing the lack of discipline in people. Like the teams that have discipline, the teams that don't have discipline, and we just watched the Iron Bear Cup or whatever it was. All the Burn and everybody else fighting over there. Those guys look sharp. They are fucking on point, and it was a really good tournament to watch. It was really fun.
Yes and no, but you have to bear in mind that I'm in a great situation. I mean, great. Nobody's in a great situation when they are being told by fucking Boris Johnson that they can exercise for an hour a day. I mean, this is completely idiotic, to tell people like how much can they exercise.
Somebody from the Anya Bear. Actually, speaking of Anya Bear is saying hi, hello, how are you? Somebody in chat.
Hello. I've got a massive garden. I've turned it into a training ground and so on. But there are people who literally don't have space to train. They live in a flat. They don't have garden. They don't have access to outdoors and so on. So yes and no. I mean, if there's a way, there's a will. If there's a will, there's a way to do it. But I don't know how it looks in different countries. But sometimes the restrictions were pretty horrible, and I think they are absolutely moronic.
Alex Rosenthal, the Bear Blackspear, the other guy that's breaking down WMFC fights. He can leave his house. He has to like be in his home. He has like a curfew that he has to be home for unless he's working. And like he can't go out. He can't go out and do shit like out in public. He has to be in his own property and everything else like that. I'm like, that's fucking nuts. But
yeah,
it is what it is. The countries are going to tell us what they're going to do because they have more guns than us.
Unfortunately,
the government's going to tell me things. It's whatever.
In UK, it's not the guns; it's complete brainwashing by now. So,
I mean, aren't we all situated in our own propaganda state? It is what it is, man. There's only so much the little cogs can do working on their own. We got all kind of interlock together and work together as a team to make the clock change. But that's
hopefully on 29th of March we can actually have organized team sports allowed outdoors in UK. So then we will go back. By 12th of April we're supposed to have the gym open. So fingers crossed.
Flame greeting from Russia, apparently. Konstantin Matinetsky? I got that one.
Konstantin, my apologies. The White Company patch is on the way to you. Really, I'm sorry, it's coming late.
It's on its way. Oh God, I lost my train of thought. Fuck, it is what it is. No, I'm really. We have 34 people watching currently. Like I'm surprised. I'm really glad that everybody's around and everything else like that. a big thing that I'm noticing within like my team and everything else like that, and talking with my friends is that like the mental grind, the drain that the COVID, the whole pandemic has put upon all of us, and being able to like find the purpose to like bring yourself back up, to lift yourself back up, kind of thing is getting to a point where it's difficult for some people. And I'm like, it's springtime. I can go back out and go camping. I can go biking. I can go running, do the thing. At parks and stuff. What, you're not allowed to leave your house? Is that what it is?
You're not allowed to take, at the moment, you're still not allowed to do like unnecessary travel. So, for example, and you're not allowed to meet someone outside socially. I can go and train with my client, but if I went to talk with him, I'm not allowed to do that.
Huh? Weird.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does. It does.
No, from the 29th, the government allows us to meet socially with one person.
Ah, okay.
I mean, thank you, government. Thank you very much.
Like, can you go out to the public park and at least like enjoy the shitty British nature?
No, you can't sit. You can walk, but you cannot sit in a park. Yeah, you can walk in a park. You cannot sit in a park.
Oh, okay. I mean, I guess it can be okay, like weather in Britain, but all I know is that it rains all the time. It's constantly raining in London.
The previous week was really nice, and lots of people were outdoors. I mean, to be fair, where I am, I've never was harassed by the police, so I'm kind of grateful for that. But yeah, I've seen people, being told off for sitting on the benches, etc., etc. There was a situation that was in the previous lockdown where I was exercising with clients, so exercise was allowed, and literally the police stopped the van. Like 6 police officers were fairly politely telling people off, and told them to go. They completely passed us like we were invisible because we were exercising, and that's it. We're like, yeah, okay, cool.
Fine, I'll take it. Like, let's go do some activity for a while, bullshit, and then we'll go do some activity, we'll bullshit again. Oh, the cops are coming. Everybody start doing stuff.
Yeah. There's one of the councils, I shall not name them. So there's a footpath there by the Thames, River Thames, which they now have put the signs that jogging and cycling is not allowed. Do you know what's the reason behind it? Because you breathe too hard, right? So you spread the particles. I wonder if running backwards, because then you don't breathe towards people, you breathe like away. I'm not sure if running backwards is allowed, but I don't know. Maybe backflips. They have not mentioned backflips. They only have mentioned jogging. So
that's weird. Okay, sure. Like, okay, like whatever the fuck you like, whatever, guys. Like, I'm gonna deal with whatever you're gonna throw at me, and I'll live with it because I can't really do anything else. Whatever I can do. Buhurt Gorilla Pete, my good man out of the Midwest, he's actually wondering where you can pick up some White Company swag. Actually.
You mean like t-shirts
like t-shirts
stuff like that?
Yeah.
We've run out at the moment. We would have to do the another order. And probably for US, they would have to be slightly larger. I mean, like 2XL and stuff like that.
Okay, what the fuck do you think? That we're all just like gigantic fucking human beings? Like everybody weighs over 300 pounds, everybody's 140 kilos and over? Is that what you think?
Did you watch the video from 5v5 from Portugal in 2016?
Look, man, like that's 5 dudes. That's 5
no, that's
guys.
8
There's
dudes.
a lot. Okay, there's 8 guys. There's a lot more than 8 dudes in the U.S. doing steel. Like, okay, apparently every American fighter is 300 pounds. They're 6'9". They pick up trucks and throw them at people. Just because one guy likes picking a team full of large Marmalukes, like that's not our fault. I mean, I was one of those big ass motherfuckers on our team purely because of that, man. Like,
I train one of the dudes. He's from Virginia originally, but he lives in UK. And every time he goes to back to US, he puts on weight. And then as soon as he comes back to UK, he doesn't change his diet, but he starts losing weight and really rapidly. He says that there must be something in your food. That's his opinion.
No,
And
it
as I said,
definitely is. I definitely think the amount of processed foods and everything else like that we get. That's why our pre-workout's better than your pre-workout, because they don't care about what they put in it. That stuff's basically powdered meth. Just picks you up and throws your ass through the fucking wall.
there used to be a good pre-workout in UK, but it got banned because women died from taking too much of it. I mean, it said on a package to take one scoop. She took six for the
Yeah,
first time.
it's because, well, actually, Matthias out of Denmark, he told me, he's like, usually the Danish pre-workout, they say you use 2, and they have to use like 4 or 5 to actually make it work. If the American shit tells you use 1 scoop, you use 1 fucking scoop, because that shit gonna throw you through the roof. Kind of thing. And he's like, I actually love getting American pre-workout because it actually fucking works, and I don't have to buy 4 times the amount of it.
No, I mix my own because I'm yet to find a commercial brand that would have what I want it to have and not have what I don't want it to have. So, for example, like arginine is something that I avoid in pre-workout.
One moment. We got a package. What don't you like it? Arginine?
Yeah. Or AAKG, also known as
AAKG.
Or arginine.
Okay. I can read just as well as most other people, and I'm not seeing it on here.
Okay.
Okay. It's not killing me.
How much beta... Is there beta-alanine in there?
Beta-alanine? 4 grams.
Yep. Shit. That's good. I mean, I would use half of it, but
yeah. Well, this is like a trial thing that I got from them. They're not even like giving me any money. They're just good friends of mine. I like using their shit. So and it doesn't make me itchy. That's one thing I've noticed. You know how pre-workout sometimes makes you itchy because
that's beta-alanine.
Yeah. I don't get itchy from this stuff.
Okay.
It's kind of surprising.
Maybe there's no beta-alanine.
Well, no, it says it here. Like, I just don't get. I'm also like,
you should feel it like tingly thing, feeling in your face and so on.
In my ears, maybe. That's what I'm feeling just because of this. I don't know. Fucking Christ, this stuff keeps me jacked up, and I go work out on it. So I haven't died doing that yet. So I'll just take it as a win. Sure.
Oh. I avoid pre-workouts before the tournaments because it's like, it usually kicks in within like half an hour, and then you've got this spike, and then massive crash.
Sit the hell down. By the way, like on the stream, I like my playlist that I have fighting playing on in the background of us. I'm actually using one of Alex Blackspear's, Bear Blackspear's videos. He's actually up in the corner harassing people, and I'm like, oh, all your sound's turned off. Like the best part about your stuff is turned off, other than the fighting. So you've got white company swag that you're working on.
Yep.
And then I've got stuff on my Linktree at my print at Big Cartel. I've got that T-shirt, the Get Wrecked T-shirt. I've got a couple other T-shirts floating around. I got stickers and stuff. Like, go hit that up. Go check out the white company stuff. Of course, like you guys want to do that, right? That's all the good times.
Yeah, when we produced the first batch, they went pretty quickly. So I mean, we've got to pull our shit together and get some more done.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the that's one of the harder things to try and figure out. It's all the other bullshit. I'm like, I'd rather just train and fight. Everything else is kind of annoying to figure out, but it's good to know. It's good to have around because you kind of need it sometimes.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Do you have any questions for me? Any thoughts, comments, questions, ideas?
I haven't even thought about it. But no, are you planning to go to the Battle of the Nations yourself?
It's not exactly like, I just don't know. Like the amount of money that it takes for me to put down to get stuff to go over there. Like I would go and fight without a problem. I actually would rather just go over and fucking corner the guy that I'm coaching right now to go do sword and board. So he has he has the coach that he's been working with for 4 months trying to do it and everything else like that. I'd like to go to Battle of Nations. It would be very fun, and I love going and fighting and everything else like that. I just don't know with how travel restrictions, the amount of money that you have to put out, and how much money you can get back within a specific amount of time if they move it, or if they do it, or they cancel it, or I get told that I can't leave the country, kind of shit. Like I don't want to. I can't afford to lose $1,000 on a plane ticket, because they decide to cancel it, and I can't get my return out of it.
Yeah.
That's about my only thing, really.
One question I would have is so when you were fighting in IMCF, your team was like it was sort of like an all-star team,
Yeah, it was picked
right?
from around the country.
Yeah. What do you think is better, clubs or all-star teams?
A mixture. I want the like the only problem that I had with picking a team and sending an all-star team, the only problem I had with it was because our country's so fucking big, I couldn't bring those people together to like 3 weekends before we do the event. I'm like, I need 3 weekends where we can all, or like one, like 4-day weekend where we all can work on tactics. We can watch the video of us doing. We can see what the fuck we do, and we can talk with each other more than when we're in country and we're all nerved and like you're traveling a lot and everything else like that. Your brain's not really there for it. I want to be able to talk beforehand about that kind of shit, and I really want to be able to strategize and figure things out with those guys that I want to like go and win fucking medals with. And that's kind of one of the things that caught me off guard going to IMCF 2015. I had only been fighting for a year, and I was put on the top team, and I'm like, okay, I am now really nervous because I'm hanging out with a bunch of dudes that I look up to, that I've been watching kick people's asses for a year. What if I fuck up? And there's also 600 people in the fucking stands. Like, what if I really fuck up? That was something that really threw me through a loop to a bit. And I've gotten past that. I do like the idea of clubs. I really do. I think it also depends on if everybody in the club can go overseas. Like if everybody can afford to go overseas, kind of thing. And I actually really want to talk to the Eastern European guys, because it seems like they have more involvement from their government, from their whatever governing body in their country says, hey, we like sports and we like what you're doing, kind of thing. I kind of want to know what their interaction with those guys are, because it seems to make a significant difference, to a point. And it also is the fact that there's private organizations involved with a sport that has national representation. You get where I'm at with it? Like a private company owns something that's sending over people in U.S. tabards or UK tabards or Ukrainian, like whatever. It's just it's kind of a weird separation that I think sometimes gets fucked up, and I'd really love it to like become a little bit more. They work more together than one ignoring the other, kind of thing.
I mean, the whole idea behind like one individual owning the franchise, I think it's completely wrong.
Yeah.
And okay, it may work for a while and so on, but people have to be accountable to the fighters. It cannot be that one person makes a decision. Yeah, well, okay, you choose the captain, and then the captain makes the decision, but then you judge him by the results. If the results are shit, well, dude, you need to go, right? Or maybe we have someone better, or maybe we don't have anyone better, and this is the best we can do, etc. But people would have to be accountable. So,
And that's a big thing. Is like, hey, you won this tournament to be qualified to go. The World Championships isn't for 6 months. What's going to happen in that 6 months? Is somebody getting a car accident? Somebody's going to have a heart attack, get a stent, something stupid like that. Like, goofy shit happens. And sometimes it's really good to have a small list of people that are like, hey, these are our alternates. These are the guys that we call up if somebody else has a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Like, backups are always a good plan. Pete asks, does Pawel think that it'll get pushed back? What's the consensus over there for Botten? Wondering about the Botten, like, time frame.
I'm convinced that it's going to either get pushed back or even move to the next year. I mean, my personal opinion, or ideally, I would like to see it being next year, because by then maybe we'll go to some kind of normality, and I don't consider new normal being a normal. I fucking would think to be normal.
So that just sounds like White Company doesn't feel prepared for bottom.
I will still kick your ass.
Oh yeah, I know it. Believe me, man. I really do want to line up with my with a solid team against you guys and really see where it can go because the American meta is so much different from the European meta.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
go ahead.
you guys, like, lots of your teams are dynamic. They move around and so on. I think it comes from the sports that you play. So you've got your football, you've got lacrosse, etc., etc. So that's from that. Well, like our inspiration is well, I trained judo when I was younger, when I was in the army, and I noticed how effective that is. So judo, wrestling,
That was
etc.,
asked earlier
etc.
in the chat, like how you feel about judo being involved in it, and I'm of the personal opinion that judo is like almost paramount in the foot game of what we're doing. And
Yeah,
especially if you have a grappling heavy team like White Company, I think judo is extremely important because that is just the application of putting your leg in a specific place and moving their body weight, and that's
yeah,
basically what the
yeah.
sport is.
Yeah,
Like,
the problem is that people like watch the throws or do something like that, and judo throws have to be adopted,
mhm.
right? They are not directly
No,
transferable.
on paper they do
Uh,
not work exactly how we need them to work because they usually
yeah,
involve touching the ground or going to the ground with them in some way, shape, or form.
that and also
The
the
gi,
grip.
yeah, the
Yeah,
gripping.
so these things have to be adopted, and then in the training, it's usually the things that I see. People see how it works, so they see point A, how you start. They
Hmm.
see point Z,
Hmm.
how you finish, but they forget the things in the middle.
Yeah.
And there's just so many mistakes done on the way, and they train too fast. So slow down, get all the elements right, and
Hmm.
you'll get the right effect. Don't just watch at the beginning and at the end and desire, okay, now we're going to teleport the guy from point A to point Z,
Yeah.
forgetting about the whole rest of the alphabet.
Like they're looking at the
So,
starting step and all they see is the end step. I'm like, there's all these other things
no,
you have to do in the middle to actually like accomplish that. Um.
precisely.
Oh, let's see here. I'm going through a little bit of the chat and see where we go. How do you feel about choking up on the hand axe and using it to punch with? Putting your hand underneath the head of the axe and using it more of like like a hook or like a puncher, whatever like
That's
that.
already banned. That's already banned
Oh
in
yeah,
in HMB. Yep. So when you hitting, you still can punch, but your fist has to be 30 centimeters away from the axe.
30 centimeters.
That's in inches, 10, 12 inches.
It's 12 inches. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. Okay, like fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, but
So
like if like you have to have your hand there at all times, kind of thing.
no. You can have it there, but you cannot punch it with the weapon being right here,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
One is very dangerous. Two, it's like it defeats the point of having a weapon because it's fine. Like if my weapon, the blade is here and my hand is here, right, and
Yeah.
I'm punching from there, that's all good, right? But why would I hold, with the the the
The
wood
handle.
basically sticking out, the handle sticking out. Sorry, the handle sticking out here and the blade here. When I see someone like that in the list, he automatically becomes my target because I fucking hate it. So it becomes personal.
Why don't you like it?
Because why would you hold a weapon like that?
Because I'm gonna punch you in the fucking armpit and watch you squeal like a pig.
No, you won't. Because
No,
if you hold your weapon like this, you're a shitty fighter, and there's no way you're ever gonna get to punch me.
believe me, I completely understand that. I do understand. Like
It's
there are times where I've shifted my hand up and I've used it as a pivot. Like I've put it on the other side of your helmet, and I'm using it as a pivot point, as a grapple kind of thing, because I have to have the weapon in
yeah.
my hand and I can't get my hand around you. I'm using that as a pivot point to hook into you a little bit. Um,
Look, as long as you do the things within the rules,
oh yeah,
I mean,
of course.
perfectly fine. But as I mentioned, this like double hand overhook grip on the axe, I can't stand it. I mean, I just think it's stupid.
um, like, jeez. I have this weird feeling about like not being able to grab a hold of blades right now. Like, but not being able to grab a hold of your own blade seems kind of weird.
No, I think it's really good. Look, it's really dangerous, right? So there were often situations where someone would grab that and pull, and that would slide underneath the collar,
Yeah.
and people would not see that, right?
Yep.
It's difficult to see that. I had a situation where actually a US fighter put a weapon underneath my collar and was choking me like that for most of the fight,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty sure it was deliberate. Um, I was pretty incensed after this.
It, that grabbing and the hooking and using it as a lariat kind of thing is just so common.
Mm-hmm.
I see it more commonly because that's the natural thing for a polearm when you get
Mm-hmm.
into the grapple. I mean, Alex just did it on the stream. Like when you go into the grapple with a polearm, you put it over his head and you try to sling each other around like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a natural inclination because you see it so much other places.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. Sometimes I get a little off. Yeah, Barry, you definitely called it neck danger. I can understand why. It does make sense to a certain degree. I just don't like it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can use the axe, and you're allowed to
Yeah,
to
no,
grab
definitely.
the handle of the axe.
Hmm.
But bear in mind that other fighters are allowed to grab your handle as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, and I use that as
So,
well. When somebody's swinging at me with a two-handed axe and I'm holding on to somebody, I just grab the axe handle. I'm like, you can't swing this anymore. It's mine. Fuck you. Ringo says just wear a gorget. He just says you should wear better neck protection.
the neck protection is obligatory in
Now, do you wear
HMP,
one that's
but
attached to your helmet, or do you wear one that's completely separate?
you have to have a separate now
Okay, good.
for HMP.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I get asked a
they
lot of
they
questions about that.
most of them look differently than the ones you guys are using because you have like pretty like tiny color. Most of the protection now made for HABIA have thicker color, so
Tall,
it's
it sits
higher.
taller on your neck.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a lot of
yeah.
American fighters that like I don't like wearing shit around my neck, so I'll have it attached to my helmet. I'm like, what happens when you get bent over like that and the plates
Yeah.
start flipping up? Like,
So two things are now obligatory. You have to have the neck protection, and there has to be no, I'm not sure if the protection on the helmet is obligatory, but I have both. So
are they
uh,
saying that you have to have an aventail almost?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, you have to have an Aventail. You have to have an Aventail, and the rules about Aventails changed. So only certain helmets can have it made of the material. Certain helmets have to have the chainmail, etc., etc. But
Gotcha.
that's about that's AC regulation. I think the AC regulation is pretty. I don't know. There's a lot of bitching about it, but we can't look like fucking Urukai. I mean,
That
look,
was going to be my next
team
question is how do you feel about the authenticity committee?
uh, really positive. I mean, I was forced to change things on my helmet and elements of my armor and so on, and I don't mind. I had to do it, and to be honest, I was like specifically targeted because it was like, look, you people look at you and they copy your armor.
Hmm.
It cannot happen that oh he's like that, so we're going to copy, and then they have to fight off like 50 other fighters.
There's one other asshole that owns a helmet like this. And I told him, I'm like, that's the worst fucking idea ever. Don't do it. They'll yell at you because every Russian reenactor I've ever met has gone, that is all wrong. Everything is wrong. The helmet is very pretty. It doesn't have the mustache. There's no beard. Where's your breathing holes? I'm like, I don't need them. And they're like, okay, that's good enough. But at the same time, you need you need beard. You need all this. My armor was completely wrong. I got yelled at a lot for it. Still a fun helmet to wear, but it's terrible for Buhurt fighting because that point
Mhm.
is the biggest
Oh
handle
yeah,
in the world. It's sitting 7 inches off of my head. It's just bend me
yeah.
right to the
Whenever
ground.
if you ever hear a word Wajcha, which in Poland in Polish means lever,
Hmm.
that's what we do.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
bad decisions. I've
yeah.
tried to steer everyone else away from helmets like that. I'm like, you don't need to do it.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, people try to look fancy, and I think it's look, it's got to be fucking practical.
it
It,
has to
it
be.
cannot be fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I sent you a picture of the other helmet that I'm getting, right? That
Hmm.
big it's Italian mid 15th century. It's just a bar grill, and I'm like, yes, I cannot wait. I'll be able to breathe, see, do everything. Um,
Yeah.
so
Well, coming back to AC, like they're doing really great work, and I'm not trying to score any brownie points and so on. What I see now in IMCF is, oh Jesus fucking Christ, Team China is. I mean, come on, give me a break.
hey, they're doing a lot. They're doing great work. They look great.
Uh, no, they're doing great work. They do not look great in their armor. The IMCF side, the HMBIA look much better. By the way, Team USA always wear special kits in IMCF in terms of the look.
They always wear special kits.
Yeah, yeah, you always look like little special kids.
Oh,
Most of your fighters. Yeah.
why? What do you
The
mean?
fucking SCA football
Oh,
helmets.
you mean the big helmets and shit?
Yeah,
Ah,
and like you're a female fighter in Portugal, like a kettle helmet with more like no, that does not exist. You
look,
guys always had a special dispensation.
okay, sure. Whatever. I don't know. I don't deal with any of them assholes. That was made by a crazy Russian. I told the crazy Russian, make me a dope helmet. He made me a dope helmet. It's also padded and made like an Eastern European helmet. Have you ever noticed that Eastern
Right.
European helmets are made in a really specific way? They're not made with a lot of like a lot of room for padding and shit like that in there. People over here in the States are really worried about CTE, and it's a very real thing. Like that like the concussion problems and everything else like that. I get
It
it.
is, but it's not. The thickness of the helmet and so on is not going to play a role in that.
It's the
I
amount that your
mean,
brain moves around is actually what really
yeah,
is the problem.
yeah. And I was concussed in the sport. Well, once I was dizzy and once I was concussed, and I was concussed by Łukasz Kowal on the training.
Yeah,
Dude, like for a month I had headaches.
yeah. Ringo had to stop fighting for like 3 months. Like shit was really fucked up for him. He got concussed real bad, and I was like, God damn. It's a thing I worry about because I'm like, okay, by
Mhm.
the time I turn 50, am I gonna be a drooling mess kind of thing? And just
Yeah.
there's a fair possibility.
I'd like to be able to string a sentence by the time I'm 50, but I play rugby as well, and
Yeah,
what the hell? I
yeah.
know I know the risks.
Yeah, I think everybody that comes into this really does understand the risk, and if you don't, you really need to like watch some more or at least ask some more questions, because
Yeah,
it's not really like we're lying to anybody or telling them like, oh, this isn't real fighting. No, you're actually gonna get fucking hit with that big ass axe. It's gonna come really fast,
yeah.
and it's a thing. We're going on an hour and 45 minutes. I know we're going a little over. I'm really glad that we were able to sit down and do this thing. I think this is
I'm
pretty
very
informative.
happy that you invited me.
Anybody out there watching from a different country, if you've been in long enough and you want to talk about some stuff, some things, I'd love to talk to you. I'm putting out tendrils everywhere, trying to hit up people and do different stuff. Um,
Yeah,
I want to thank everybody that's been in chat with us. We've had 32 to 35 people this whole time. Like we've had 30 odd people the whole time, which is awesome. And I want everybody. Did you have a good time? Did you enjoy yourself?
yes, I did. And please do not think that I hate what you guys do in US. I just love taking a piss.
I know. Hey, believe me. Some people like remember that text doesn't give context, and perception and has to do with like the objectivity of it. It's like seeing where somebody else is coming from. You actually like that's about understanding kind of thing. Um, Jesus Christ. Ringo comes out like how we talk about helm style and tie points and band half sorting. Like, see, that's the bullshit I get to deal with from these assholes. Like, I have no context for any of this shit. I want everybody to have a great day. I want you to have a great night. I want to thank you for coming on. Um, and
Thank you for
lastly,
having me.
and lastly, everybody get vicious or get the fuck out.
Thank you.
Um,